My neighbor knocked at 5 a.m. Don't go to work today, just trust me. At noon, I understood why. The knock came at 5:02 a.m. Not loud, careful, like someone didn't want to wake the whole building, just me. I was already awake, I usually was. Years of early stand-ups and late-night escalations had trained my body to surface before the alarm. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, cataloging the day ahead the way I always did. The weekly metrics review, the vendor sync no one else prepared for, the system maintenance window scheduled during lunch because it's quieter then. The knock came again. Same rhythm. I pulled on a sweater and opened the door. It was my neighbor from 3B. We'd exchanged polite nods in the hallway for years, the kind of familiarity that never quite became conversation. He held a paper cup of coffee, steam curling into the dim hallway light. His eyes looked tired, focused. "Don't go to work today," he said. No greeting, no explanation. I waited. Silence had become a professional habit. If you waited long enough, people filled it. "Just trust me," he added. "Take a sick day, or a personal day, whatever you have." I smiled, the way you do when something is odd but not threatening. "Is there a gas leak?" I asked. He shook his head. "Nothing like that." "Then why?" He hesitated, looked past me down the hallway, lowered his voice. "You'll understand by noon." He held out the coffee like an offering. I took it without thinking. By the time I looked back up, he was already walking away. I closed the door and stood there, coffee warming my hands, the apartment too quiet. I checked my phone. No alerts, no emails, no missed calls. At 5:17 a.m., my calendar reminder buzzed. Prep weekly ops summary. Include risk notes. I set the coffee down. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't open my laptop. The email came at 8:11 a.m. Subject, role update. No exclamation points, no emojis, just a meeting invite attached, 15 minutes long. I joined on time, of course I did. My manager didn't turn on her camera. HR did. They used the word realignment. They said the company was evolving. They thanked me for my dedication and institutional knowledge. Then they told me my role was being eliminated, effective immediately. There was a pause, the kind they leave for emotion. I didn't give them any. "That's it?" I asked. My manager cleared her throat. "We know this is a lot to take in." "It's not," I said. "Who's taking over the system?" Another pause, longer this time. "We'll redistribute responsibilities," HR said smoothly. I nodded. "Okay." They offered severance, 2 weeks, asked if I had questions. "I'll send documentation. Everything's already logged." "That won't be necessary," my manager said quickly. "We have what we need." I believed her. That was my mistake. The call ended at 8:26 a.m. I sat at my kitchen table, hands folded, waiting for something to happen inside me. Fear, maybe, anger, the spike of adrenaline everyone talks about. Instead, I felt lighter. Relief moved in quietly, like air returning to a room you didn't realize was sealed. I texted my neighbor. They let me go. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Wait, it's not over. I didn't cry. That surprised people later when the story made its rounds. They expected a breakdown, a confrontation, a dramatic exit. What they didn't see were the years leading up to that morning. When I was hired, the role had been pitched as collaborative, a growing team, shared ownership, strategic input. By month 6, 2 positions were frozen. By month 9, 1 teammate quit. By the end of year 1, it was just me. I absorbed responsibilities like water fills cracks, quietly, completely. Vendor management, incident response, compliance reporting, the internal tool no one understood but everyone depended on. I warned them, politely, repeatedly. The warnings were acknowledged with praise instead of help. "You're such a rock," my manager would say. "You always figure it out." They mistook endurance for capacity, silence for consent. I documented everything, not defensively, methodically. Run books, decision logs, dependency maps. I built a system that could survive audits, outages, growth. What I didn't build was a replacement for me, because understanding isn't the same as access, and no one ever asked to understand. At 11:43 a.m., my phone rang. It was my former manager. I let it ring twice before answering. "We're having trouble accessing the dashboard," she said. No greeting this time, no small talk. "The credentials you used aren't working." "They're personal," I said. "I mentioned that in the offboarding checklist." "Oh," she said. "Can you send them?" No. A sharp inhale. We just need temporary access. You told me you had what you needed. Silence. At noon exactly, the system went down. Not because I touched it, not because I sabotaged anything. I was sitting on my couch, scrolling job listings I hadn't allowed myself to consider before. The system went down because maintenance scripts ran on a schedule only I had adjusted after the last near miss. Because vendor alerts escalated to an inbox no one else monitored. Because the workaround everyone relied on was a conversation, not a file. At 12:07, my phone rang again. We're in a crisis, my manager said. Her voice was tight now. The reporting feed is corrupted. I'm not employed there, I said calmly. I can't access internal systems. We'll pay you, consulting, whatever you want. I looked around my apartment. Sunlight on the floor, the coffee cup still half full. I'm not available, I said, but I wish you luck. I hung up. By 2 p.m., the news had reached my neighbor. He knocked again, softer this time. They're scrambling, he said, leaning against the doorframe. I work with one of your vendors. They've been calling nonstop. I nodded. I figured. He studied me. You okay? I considered the question. Yes, I said, and I meant it. The next few weeks were quiet. No alarms, no emergency messages. I slept until my alarm instead of before it. I interviewed selectively, asked questions I'd been too grateful to ask before. When I accepted an offer, it wasn't because of the title, it was because of the structure. A team of 4, shared on-call rotations, clear documentation standards. A manager who asked, "What do you need?" and waited for the answer. On my first day, they walked me through the system together, not because they didn't trust me, but because they believed understanding was communal. I felt something then, not joy, alignment. Back at my old company, things deteriorated predictably. Missed deadlines, compliance flags, a vendor penalty no one anticipated. They reached out again, then again. Each time, I declined, not out of spite, out of clarity. I had already given them everything I had. Months later, my neighbors stopped me in the hallway. They finally stabilized, hired 3 people. That's good, I said. He smiled. They still talk about you, like a cautionary tale. I smiled back. I hope they learned something. I think about that knock sometimes, how close I came to ignoring it, how easily I could have walked into that morning unprepared, still believing loyalty was mutual. Being undervalued doesn't always look like abuse. Sometimes it looks like praise that replaces support, trust that replaces structure, silence that replaces safety. Choosing the right environment changed everything. Not because I became someone new, but because I was finally seen as someone worth sustaining. Success isn't revenge, it's consequence. And sometimes it starts with a knock before dawn and the courage to listen.